Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse today is the controlling faculties, indriya, how they work. First of all, let us have an analogy. They are something like karmic remains. A remain means something of the past, you see, some monument, some remains of past history, all that is preserved. Say, Ajanta in Ellora, Nalanda, Buddhagaya, Sarnath. In all these places, the remains, old remains abound, and they unfold the story of the past in very eloquent terms indeed. And then, having this potency to reveal the past, these require a constant process of maintenance. That means you see, some kind of reconstruction and construction activities. So a process of renewal keeps on these very sites. You see, under various schemes and so on, you see, as a history, archaeological activities, all kinds of things. So these indriyas, about which I have already mentioned, about 9 of them, there are 22 such indriyas, and 9 of them are very active and potent, and we have already mentioned about them. These are, I will again repeat, I will just have a bird's eye view of what has been already mentioned. First of all, we have the senses, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body. These 5 material indriyas or bases, sense bases, they are the 5 indriyas. And then there is the mind itself acting as an indriya. And then there are the indriyas which determine our gender, the male and the female gender. And both these are very specific and having very different mindsets, very different mentality and way of perceiving things and knowing things and so on. Then there is what is called Jivitindriya, the fact that we are alive, that we are sentient beings, and the process of being alive is kept up by a certain karmic potency. So that indriya which keeps it up is known as Jivita Indriya. The vital faculty that keeps the sentience going, state of a sentient being going. Then there is also the other thing, what is called heart base. That is the base for the consciousness, is not so much the physical heart, but that physical heart is a factor that upholds. It has got a subtle material base for the mind, for the consciousness to be based. Up to this we have discussed. Then there are these feelings that arise. Then there are various states of spiritual and moral states which control our lives. Indriya simply means that which controls. It means a potency or a power that controls life, controls the mind, and so on. Now imagine, the example I gave in the previous talks, say a blind man. I will give you an example from the Jataka. There was the very wise king and that was Bodhisattva himself. Now he had a council of ministers and counselors, very powerful men, men of great learning, great intelligence, and they were all very, very specialized people in different fields of knowledge and skill and activities of all kinds. Now these, they are something like, you see, we have the story of the Vikramaditya's Ratnas, Navaratnas. So something like that. These men, this is long in the past, when the Buddha had not, he was preparing himself as a Bodhisattva to fulfilling all the supreme perfections that grew into the Buddha Gautama. So now, as a Bodhisattva, he was the king, and he had this Ratnas, a whole set of very powerful, intelligent and skillful individuals, very specialized. Now, you see, various topics would arise every day connected with state administration or with the individuals. The king was also the head of the justice system. He was the head. Under him there was Chief Justice, of course. And Chief Justice was one of the part of these Ratnas. And the general of the army and so on. So these people would keep on arguing on and on for hours and hours, and they delighted in talking and talking and talking. They are, in other words, they were the precursors of our modern set of ministerial leaders, both at the state and the central level. However, so now these men, with all the, you see, weighed down by their so-called knowledge and intelligence and wisdom, which of course they did not have, they thought they have, and so on. So the king got very tired of all that. He says, every time I give them a particular, you see, a question and ask them to produce a proper solution to the problem, no. The question of solution would never come. They will keep on talking and prolong the whole thing. So one day a fine idea arose into his head. Something like it's some kind of an insight, a kind of brain storm that occurred. So he said, look here, I want an elephant to be brought into this council, and half a dozen or more blind people who are absolutely, they're from birth, they're birth blind, they're born blind, so such people have never seen anything in life. And they don't know the power of the visual sight, the power of seeing. Seeing is not just seeing an object, but is the very basis for all knowledge and the experience of life in the world, and creating a whole destiny here and now and hereafter through this faculty of seeing. Now, so he said, I want all these people to be brought. Prime Minister, you get along all these people quick. So they were all hauled up from different parts of the country. These people were brought in front, right in the middle of the, right on the floor of the council, and assembly hall rather, and the king was there presiding, and the Chief Justice, all these very big people, all of the Ratnas are all there. So the question, the king never gave the question to anybody. He just kept it to himself. Now when these people, the blind men were arraigned before him, and he said, "My dears, now do you like to see an elephant?" They say, "Elephant? What is this elephant business? What is that?" So you don't know elephant, huh? They said, no, Your Majesty, we don't know what is that. So you want to see? You want to know? Well, yes, we want to know. Very good. So here is an elephant right before you. Now all one by one, you just go and experience, touch or do whatever you like with that particular object. And tell me your impression about that object. What do you think about it? That is how all of them, one by one, they examined, investigated, touched, and licked all kinds of manipulations they had, and then they say only one thing they could not do is see. They heard also. They made the elephant make a little noise. So now the king said, "Okay, you have now seen, my dears, sit down all of you, be very comfortable, be very calm and just ask your mind. You have got a mind and you talk to your mind very often. Now please talk to your mind and ask, what is it that elephant, what this elephant is that I have now experienced?" Now each one gave a different description of the object that he had experienced. He has sensed rather. Through these various senses, he had the other senses active. So he has sensed this object, and the sensation produced by the sense, the sensing. Now on the basis of that they gave. He says, well, a man had caught hold of the leg, big leg. He said, "Oh, it's a big, very big pillar, a monument like. Your Majesty, elephant is a pillar." So all the others, now the councillors, etc., all of them laughed. King said, "No, no laughing please. Just watch and gain some wisdom from them." So the next man, the king asked, "Now, my dear, what about you?" He had caught hold of the trunk, and he said, "My goodness, what a huge lata, that means a creeper, and what is the wonderful touch, it's so soft, this creeper, huge creeper." So they all laughed as usual. The king said no. So he said, the first man said, "No, Your Majesty, he is lying. It's a pillar." Then this fellow said, "Hey, shut up. What do you know? You don't know anything. I know everything." All laughed again. So when these two started fighting, so the others laughed. So the third man came. He said, "No, both of them are wrong, Your Majesty. You put them in the jail. They have lied." So what do you think? "Oh, it's a winnowing basket, a huge winnowing basket." He had touched the ear. And so on, he described what a basket is. Winnowing basket. So the elephant became a winnowing basket. The other fellow touched the tail. And he said, "Oh, what a huge rope. My goodness, you can climb on the top of the Himalaya." All laughed. So like that, everyone, touched a particular portion and smelled and even licked and did all kinds of things. And the result was this. Different descriptions of the same object. And not only that, they quarreled with each other. they fought with each other, they abused each other. All these on the basis of misperception, misconceived, deluded knowledge. Now, this is a Jataka story. You find it elsewhere also. The Arabs took away from our country and made it a part of their heritage. Then the Romans stole from the Arabs, and now it's a part, it's international stuff. So this is how knowledge also travels and then gets misinterpreted or exaggerated or all kinds of things. So when the king, when this happened, all this drama, then he asked all his counselors. He dismissed these blind people and asked this elephant to be sent away. He gave them, all of them gave, he gave lot of prizes, lot of things, gifts of all kinds, and made them very happy, fed them very well, and then sent them away. Then he asked all these very learned people. They were so heavily burdened with their knowledge. And they said, my dear, what do you think of this big drama? Most of them gave their own interpretation. They are very voluminous, very talkative, so they couldn't get out of that habit of being talkative. But some of them were weighed down by shame. They said, Your Majesty, I am grateful to you. I thought that I knew everything, but now I know how little I know and how vast the area that I don't know. So His Majesty, he said, thank you, Counselor, that's very good of you. And so this is a story just to illustrate. Now, you see, as I mentioned, you see, these remains are something like karmic remains. They preserve the history of the past, so to say. Whatever we have done in the past, and the result of which is still not experienced, their unspent karmic potency within our psyche. Now these are, so to say, you see, they are stationed, to use a modernish word, they are in these indriyas. They function through these indriyas, so to say. Now, therefore, the importance of the indriya, you see, it can tell the story of our past, their karmic, all the huge karmic accumulated potency that we carry within ourselves. Much of it is revealed, and much of it is spent away through these again. You have an ability to see, and you misuse your ability to see. Now I will give you this story from Dhammapada. This is very, very important and very wonderful story. Many of you probably know already. Chakkupala, the Venerable Chakkupala, Arahat Chakkupala, he was blinded. As he became an enlightened person, that very moment he lost his eyesight. And then, when he lost it, he understood the karmic bondage, the karmic huge bondage that he carried with him, with the attainment of enlightenment, all that has also given the final result and gone. It's like the British who were told, hey, quit, or else we'll start another national movement. Gandhi said, I am going to fast again, and all sorts of things happened. Then the war also started. Hitler was pounding at their butt. So all this happened, So that moment they said, look here, we have to go anyway. So but let us teach a very fine lesson. So the Hegel during the war and kept all these people prisoner they were imprisoned, Gandhi and the whole lot of them, the freedom fighters. And the old story, all of you know, India, they succeeded in breaking up India into two. And the legacy of that we are suffering. Not only we, even the Pakistanis or the Bangladeshis. There is a continuous thing. It goes on and on in some form or other. So the karma story, the Chakupala story is very interesting. It's something like, let's say, the story of egg and hen. The hen comes out of egg. Then it begins to produce eggs. And then there's eggs again, hen. So egg-hen story is the story of karma and rebirth. Now this has been very eloquently, you see, enunciated by the Lord of all wisdom, Bhagavan Buddha, in a teaching called the Paticca Samuppada, dependent origination of all beings. That is, the law of karma and rebirth. What is the dynamics, the working principle? How does it work? So it is said, avijja pachaya sankhara vijnana pachaya. You see, due to this immense unknowing, avidya, ignorance or delusion, one commits all kinds of karma. In the past, we have done all kinds of karma motivated by and large by, not by and large, mostly by ignorance or delusion. And the ignorance and delusion never go alone. They go along with craving, tanha, wanting, grabbing, accumulating, seeking, greed. These are the factors which go together, and they work like work in tandem. That is a cycle which two persons must operate, one behind the other. That kind of thing you don't have now, but they are found here and there in the West as well as in circus, they show that. So both this ignorance and tanha, craving, which produces attachment, they work up. All the karmas are motivated by these. So they commit all kinds of karma formation, that is bodily, verbal and mental volitional actions, intentional.